synagogue. It's very nice to be with all three of you. Sergio, you told me yesterday that you are a man of many countries. Your father was a diplomat. Tell me about your background.
That's right. I don't know where I'm from even, because I was born in Venezuela from Argentinian parents. But I grew up in Europe, and my grandparents were from Ukraine and from Italy, and everything. So it's a huge fruit salad, and I feel very comfortable being a guest of the world like this, rather than. I mean, it's very musical in a way.
And you live in Belgium now?
I live in Belgium. That's right.
Well, that's great, because that's many languages happen there. It's sort of a reflection of who you are.
Well, in a way, yes. It was a little bit by chance that I ended up over there, but now I my wife is there and my two children, so I'm not planning on moving anytime soon. And
how did you get started on the piano, if I may ask?
My mom was and still is actually a specialist in teaching children. So at home in Venezuela there were she would give 100 lessons a week. So she was working like a maniac, and my sister and I were two of her students. And in fact, when I was 2 years old, I told my mom, what's going on? Why is everybody playing the piano except for me? So she had to start giving me lessons as well.
So that seems to be, I mean, El Sistema aside, it seems to be part of the culture in Venezuela. Music education seems to be something that's very valued there.
Well, El Sistema started right about then, actually. Mm-hmm. When I was born, that was when it was starting to take place, and José Antonio Abreu at the time was considered almost like a crazy man. I mean, how can you imagine doing something like this in a country like Venezuela, where there's no infrastructure for it or anything? And he was such a visionary, of course, that it ended up being what it is, which is... But my mom was something else. I mean, she had her own... Because, of course, El Sistema doesn't really form pianists. It forms orchestra musicians, and, of course, there are sometimes pianists in the orchestra as well, but usually that's not part of the program, I think. So my mom had her own group of students, including people that you know. For example, Gabriela Montero was a student of my mother. She started piano with her, and many, many others that she formed over there. But of course, we were always very close to José Antonio and to the whole movement, because, we thought it was a fantastic idea, of course.
And it still is.
And it still is, and now it's flourished into something extraordinary, of course.
Lilya Zilberstein, you are Russian and German both, and... you've had a long and storied career playing with the Berlin Philharmonic, recording for Deutsche Grammophon. Tell me about how winning the Busoni competition changed your life.
Very good questions. Busoni completely changed my life, because before I lived and growing up in a closed country as USSR was, I didn't have any possibility to travel, and even travel to Busoni, to Italy, to Bolzano. It was a big challenge for the whole family and for the whole institute where I studied. It was like I went to the moon. It was like this, equal to that, because it was really impossible. And after that I started to travel, and 3 years after Busoni I moved to Germany, and I got contract with Deutsche Grammophon, and 4 years after Busoni I played with Claudio Abbado and Berlin Philharmonic. So it was a big change, and Busoni changed everything in my life.
Wow. So
including movement to Europe, where I moved and where I live now. And so I don't know if I'm Russian, I'm more Jewish maybe, and since 33 years I live in Europe. So also, like Sergio says, he doesn't know. Also, when people ask me, I also don't know. So, of course, I was born in Moscow, but I lived for 25 years in Moscow, 25 years in Germany, and now already 8.5 years I live in Vienna, in Austria.
Because you teach there.
Because I'm teaching at the University of Music, and so I say now, in the next 25 years, I'm in Vienna, at least.
More.
How interesting.
Yeah, maybe I go somewhere else, who knows.
Wow. Mikhail, Misha,
Yes.
I first heard about you reading a fascinating article in the Atlantic magazine 2 years ago, and it read like a spy thriller, your journey from Russia back here to the United States, and your affiliation with the Aspen Music Festival, your affiliation with Juilliard. I saw in an interview that you had left Russia during World War II. Why did you leave Russia again?
During Second World War, I stayed in Russia because my family lived in Sebastopol. Sebastopol, it is a military fort. And the war in Sebastopol began 2 hours before the official time, because German put torpedoes to the bay of Black Sea, and one of torpedo explored in the boulevard of the city. It was enormous explosion. Everybody wake up, except me, because I was 6 years old and I slept. Well, but after this, my mother took me and my small sister, who was only 1 year old, and went to her parents, to a little city in Ukraine, Berdyansk. Berdyansk now is very well known because it is one of the center of this criminal war. And we spent all the war, Second World War, in the Berdyansk. There I finished musical school after it was liberated from occupation. And when I was 13 years old, my mother understood that I must study in Moscow, because in Berdyansk we had no such possibility. And we came to Moscow, and she threw me alone. I lived with some wonderful lady who was very wonderful person. She loved me very much, and she helped me in the usual life. And I began to study in Moscow. And it was, of course, dangerous time, because it was poor time, it was hungry, not very good, and we lived very, very modest. But I understand that I came to study. Therefore, I finished the musical college named by Ippolitov Ivanov, where I had many, many friends. And it is very interesting that the life is miracle, because came here to the Sant Antonio, I met the children of my wonderful friends in this Ippolitov Ivanov College in Moscow. This is Anya Grochovsky and Elena Portnaya, because they are relative of my wonderful friends, Zoya Higer and Yuri Shaykhet. With them, I played chamba music. They were violinists and I'm pianist. So it was very happy time during the college. And after this, I entered to Moscow Conservatory, and I studied with great musician, first prize winner of first Chopin competition, Lev Oborin. Yes, who was...
he played a lot with Oistrakh.
Sorry?
He played a lot with Oistrakh.
Yes, he played with Oistrakh a lot.
And he sounded fantastic.
And I made acquaintance with David Fyodorovich Oistrakh. And even in the 1957, with Oistrakh, we went to Prague Festival, Prague International Festival, Pražské Jaro in Prague. And it was also one of highlight of my life, because that time only official person could go abroad. And in Prague Festival in the 1957 was participate David Oistrach, Zara Dolukhanova, great singer, Evgeny Mravinsky, wonderful conductor, and had to come Emil Gillis, like pianist, but he was ill. And our official began to look who can exchange. And they decided that maybe some young pianist, it is not changing, but some pianists to show the young generation. So the choice was for me.
So you subbed for Emil Gilels in the Prague Festival.
Yes.
Oistrakh and Mravinsky and all of the greats in 20th century Russian music.
But for me it was a very difficult task, because I was very young. I was 21 years old, and I had no... this festival was dedicated to modern music. And I had no in repertoire a lot of modern music. But finally suddenly I have known that Shostakovich is composing his new piano concerto for his son, who was 2 years younger than me, and he was in Central Musical School. And by the help of many friends, they asked to Dmitry Dmitrievich Shostakovich to permit me to play this concerto. Fantastic. Also. Fantastic. And Shostakovich was a very kind man, very kind person. He agreed, and he only asked. He told that the first performance must be with his son, Maxim. So Maxim played in Moscow 10 of May, 1957. I played in Prague 24 of May, the same year, and Shostakovich came to Prague to listen my performance.
Fantastic.
You know, so I received from him 3 lessons. So I may tell now that I'm pupil of Shostakovich.
Fantastic.
I'm very proud. I'm very proud.
So you're the second person to play the F major Shostakovich concerto.
Yes.
You're the second person
and it was
ever.
premiere in Europe.
Fantastic.
And it was very good critic, even English magazine Music and Musicians wrote one article with my portrait and portrait of Shostakovich, and it was written about me young in years, and in Shostakovich young in mind.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, and this is wonderful concerto. I am very happy that I played this, and Shostakovich estimated it very high. He was a very kind person. You know, it is very interesting. He didn't tell any angry word. He told always, it is wonderful. Your sound is wonderful. You play very well. But in this place, please, take this a little louder. There's something very carefully, very carefully. And I was very happy. And I tell many times in my interview that I was very surprised of intelligence, of wisdom of this man, because when he was already in the old ages and he was very ill because his bones had no calcium and it was broken. And suddenly I met him in the Great Hall of Moscow Conservatory. He's sitting on the one place, and he stood up to shake me hand. The great composer of 20th century stood up before young men. It is the sign of the intelligence of a Russian elite. Yes. So, I speak too much.
No, it's fascinating.
I did not answer your first question, why I left Russia now. Because you know that When on the 24th of February 2024, 2022, when this criminal war began, I immediately understood that I don't want to connect my name with such criminal circle. If I stay in Russia, I am participant, and it was first thought. The second thought was shocked for me because many people around surrounding me supported. Many. And this is tragedy of nation. It is not only tragedy of some people who were killed, for example, during the war. It is tragedy of the nation which does not understand the reality. They does not understand that they don't understand that this war, it is the decision only one person who is really criminal. So it was very difficult. It was a very difficult decision because I was the head of chair of piano faculty. I had many pupils,
at
very
the Moscow Conservatory,
talented, and many concerts. Yes.
At the Moscow Conservatory, you were the chairman of the piano department at the Moscow Conservatory.
Yes.
Did you leave any family behind in Russia?
Yes, I have very big family from my first wife. I have 9 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. They stayed in Russia. I have second marriage, and I have young son, like you, Scott, but a little older. He is 5 years old. And we, this family, we immigrated to United States. So I feel myself here very comfortable. I know that I'm pure. I'm honest. I can speak what I want. If I would stay in Russia, I could not tell anything which I think, because it's now dangerous. You may be in prison. You know that in our law it is written that if you tell this is war, you may be in prison, because you must tell that it's special military operation. It is not war. It is very stupid, very stupid. I'm sure that this is tragedy not only for Russia, which has many people who in mind don't support this, but they cannot tell anything.
Lilya, the first time I heard of you was many, many years ago, and somebody had given me a recording of you playing a flawless Rachmaninoff second and third piano concerto with the Berlin Philharmonic. But after that, I had seen you in many contexts also playing chamber music, especially with, you could argue, the pianist who has the most similar career as you do, Martha Argerich. Tell me about your, and I know that you have played lots of sonata collaborations, and you do a lot of things other than stand in front of the orchestra and play a concerto. Tell me about your chamber music collaborations, and how do they feed you as a musician?
I like to play chamber music a lot, and I do it with different instruments. But biggest part, let's say, it's for me. It happens most in the festivals. Yeah, so I play trio, I play a lot of quintets. So when, for example, there was Lugano Festival of Martha Argerich, every year I played different quintet there. So 15 festivals, I played maybe 12 quintets or something like this. And they were all, many of them were unknown, like, so in Europe, Taneyev Piano Quintet, which is one of the greatest quintets written, and difficult. We played it there. Very difficult, but I really enjoy to play it, and I'm big fan of this music, and we played Mettner, and we played Frank Bridge, and we played Ferdinand Ries, and I don't know, so Anton Rubinstein Quintet, so really unknown music I found. Yeah, I also played, years ago we played with Maxim Vengerov, also here in United States, and we played in Japan and in China, this year we will celebrate, I think, 25 years with Marta Argerich. The first time we played in 1999. It happened occasionally in Stavanger in Norway, also by Chamber Festival, but we didn't have to play together. It was spontaneous for the last concert. Marta suggested that she wants to play with me for hands, and we just took the pieces which music was there, because not she, not me, we didn't bring anything with us. And since then we play, because it's kind of different polus, but it's kind of coming together well. And I have to tell that in 1 month we play again together. We have 3 concerts. In Germany and in Vienna. In Germany it's in Castle Elmau. So it's a big hotel which has a name Schloss Elmau in the mountains in Alps. And then we play in Vienna in Concerthaus, and we play in Munich in Herkulessaal. And the program is 2 pianos we play with Marta, and also we play 2 pianos, 8 hands, where my both sons, Anton and Daniel, who were also presented here by Musical Bridges, 12 years ago. We were here, and we played with them, 3 of us, and now we will play 4 of us on 2 pianos, 8 hands. We will play Smetana, Sonata, and Rondo. Yeah.
I didn't know that there was 8-hand piano music.
Yes, there is. Yes,
that's incredible.
There is. Not even only these pieces. There are symphonies. We played also once a Mendelssohn First Symphony arranged by Busoni for 2 pianos, 8 hands. We played also in Lugano Festival and somewhere else in Germany. Yeah, but this is very, very entertainment piece, let's say, and I hope that people like it, and we like that we will stay, because in this hotel in Schloss Elmau we can practice, we can take some rest, so we go there 3 days before the concert and we practice there, we play for them, but for that we get luxury hotel. And so
as a violinist, I grew up having to make music with other people, because unless you're playing Bach or Paganini, you have to play with somebody else. As pianists, you have the 32 Beethoven sonatas, you have more than 500 Scarlatti sonatas. You do not necessarily have to make music with other people, and you grew up making music by yourselves. So what does it do? I would like to ask each one of you, when you first play music with other people and you have to, suddenly the tempo may not exactly be your tempo, it might be slightly different, or the character might be slightly different. How does that feel as a pianist? I mean, all of you are brilliant pianists. Like, what was that first experience like, making music with somebody else? I'll start with you, Lilya.
I think I started to do chamber music in a school, so we had even teachers for that, for chamber music. So I don't remember my first experience. I cannot say what was but I mean, we had teacher who explained us that situation. But I always tell to my students that we pianists are individuals, but we have to get in contact with other people. And of course it's great. And I have to tell that even when I play with orchestra and with the biggest concertos, not only Mozart or Haydn concerto, but if Rachmaninoff and Tchaikovsky, I always played with communication with other musicians, because so I played them so many times that if I miss one solo, it's disturbing. I need to have that oboe solo or that clarinet solo, and I play in communication. And also when I'm teaching these concertos, I tell, look, here we have different dynamic, but we have to wait when they breathe and whatever. So like second Rachmaninoff concerto beginning, when the flute plays, we have to wait when they breathe, and you never know when they breathe. So you have to kind of adjust to that. So it's a way of communication, I think, and we are communicating in a life with many people, and the same we do in the chamber music. I think it's that way. I explain that communication.
How about you?
Well, you know, I'm a big jazz fan, and so I think when I start chamber music for me has this element of improvisation in a way. Of course, you rehearse and of course you prepare, but what I find the most exciting is what you can't prepare for, and what the other musicians suggest and that you respond to, and that it's a live being. But I think music in general is like this. If you impose something on it, you're killing it in a way. It has to breathe on its own and ask you what it wants at the very moment that you're playing. And so I think chamber music is one of those situations where you put that in a mise en scène, like a play in a way, where everyone has a different voice, but to tell the same story. And I started playing chamber music with my sister on two pianos, and I was much older when I started playing with other musicians. But Martha Argerich, who was my next door neighbor, and I would play for her, and she was wonderful with me. At one point, she said, "You really need to do some chamber music. I mean, with other instrumentalists." And so, well, she was playing a lot with Misha Maisky, and so she said, "You should play with Misha." And I said, "Well, but I mean, come on, can't I start with somebody a little bit less huge?" No, come on, it's very good for you. You will see it. It will. And just by chance, there was a concert that came up to play Chopin Sonata with cello, and he proposed it to me. He said, "Would you like to play?" I mean, I knew Misha, of course, but I had never played with him. I said, "Yes, of course, with pleasure." But I was so nervous, and I started practicing like a maniac. And since Martha was my next door neighbor, she could hear me practicing. And at one point, she called Misha, and he said, "He's ready. We're coming." And she took me like this from the ear. And that's how I started playing with him a lot, but then with others, of course. And I think I grew more as a musician from doing that than from many, many lessons that I got from teachers. Because you learn more when you're making music rather than when you're talking about it.
Right. It's interesting. You know, as a violinist, we have a lot of chamber music to play, but pianists just always have more. Because I can't play the Brahms clarinet trio, but you do. I mean, there's so many things. Yeah. I don't play Beethoven cello sonatas. There are 5 of them, but you do. There's you. I mean, you pianists have everything. You have so much of everything.
It's enormous amount of repertoire. What's a little bit an injustice I find is that sometimes we pianists have a lot of work in chamber music compared to the others, and we don't get credit for it somehow. especially when we play in duo sonatas and so on, where you know, particularly some pieces like the Chopin sonata or Rachmaninoff sonata.
It's much harder.
It's almost like a piano concerto with cello accompaniment, but it's the cellist who is the center of attention.
What I find unfair is that at most festivals they pay every musician is paid the same. But you know, for me to learn the violin part of the, let's say, the Brahms C minor piano quartet, you know, any good violinist can learn that part in 2 hours. But you show me a pianist who can learn the Brahms C minor piano part in 2 hours. I mean, it doesn't.
Well,
doesn't
I
exist.
can't, but maybe Lilya and Misha
Lilya.
can.
Also not me.
I mean, it's absurd.
I can tell the story that when I learned a second Brahms quartet, A major for Lugano Festival, it took me several months, and every day I was happy that I opened a little secret by Brahms. So I kind of found the key of that lock, and Yes, I decided that place, and then I decided, but it really takes time. With Brahms, it's really amazing. And every time now I played 3 trios. I recorded 3 trios 3 years ago, and in lockdown time. And I played also horn trio and clarinet trio. So the quintet, of course. Yeah, the quintet I can play by memory. So, but I mean, this they all need time. Yeah. Because by Brahms we really need to find approach to the special places and tones, and sometimes even sometime I tell the story that with the second quartet I got to sit lower, adjust my seat lower for whole quartet, because in one passage I needed very, very, so I play with low wrist, but there it had to be extremely low because of the arpeggiato of diminish septachord and so, but it was like arpeggio, I needed very low. I seated whole quartet, whole piece, 50 minutes lower than usual because of that place. Yeah. Of course, I could change it in between movements. I don't know why I didn't do it, but I found that way. It also was kind of finding the key to the piece. Yeah. So.
Mikhail, I heard a story that you had once recorded all of the Mozart piano concertos live. Is that true?
This is true.
Tell me about that experience.
This experience has experience before. Because when I was very young, and my professor Lev Oborin has stroke, and he interrupted to perform, and once in the one conversation, he told me, "I'm so sorry, I would like to play all sonatas by Beethoven." It was when I was about 30 years old, and I immediately began to think, how many sonatas did I play? And I found that quite a lot. And I began to study Hammerklavier Sonata, Opus 106. And when I learned it and showed it to Oborin, after this I decided to announce all sonatas. And it was 1970. 1970 was the Jubilee of Lenin. And in Moscow it was very difficult to have 8 concert halls, 8 times, because 32 sonatas, it's too long. So I, how to tell, squeezed to 7 concertos. I played 3 concerto 4 sonatas and 4 concerto 5 sonatas in one evening. And it was rather good. But it was so long ago, it was not recorded. After this, I repeated this cycle, but not many times, because it's a very big job. After this, in the 70s, I came to Poland, and I played 24 studies by Chopin. And one of my friends, Polish critic Stanisław Dybowski, he is late already, he told me, "Misha, you must play all Chopin's music. It is enormous load, 60 mazurkas, horrible." But it was an interesting idea, and I began to prepare. In 1982, I played in Moscow Conservatory all piano solo compositions by Chopin. All 3 sonatas, all scherzo, ballada, all mazurka, all waltz, etc., etc. But it was 9 recitals. So, in my life, it was some steps, big steps. This time I dedicate to Chopin. Of course, I played in other music also many times. But about Mozart concertos, it was a lucky chance. I didn't think about this. I admire Mozart. I played a lot, but to think about this thought did not come to my mind. But in 2007, when I was 72 years old, my friend, conductor Leonid Vladimirovich Nikolaev, he was conductor of conservatory orchestras, proposed me to play Mozart concertos in one concert, which was dedicated. You know that in my life was very many tragedies. In the 1994, I lost my loved daughter, who was killed during accident in South Africa. And it was such tragedy that my wife did not live very healthy, and she passed away in 2008. So this concerto with 3 concertos by Mozart was dedicated to memory of my daughter. So for me it was a very important concert. And it was recorded, it very successfully. And 1 year later, this conductor, Nikolaev, told me, let us play another 3 concertos in the same date. And we played it. But next day after this concerto, he called me and told Misha, in 2 weeks we can play another 3 concertos. Do you have? I told yes, but I understand that I have no 3 concertos. So during 2 weeks I learned number 17, G major, wonderful concerto. And in that concerto it was the most successful. And this was beginning. After these 3 concertos, Nikolaev told me, we recorded 9 concertos by Mozart. It is time to play all of them. This idea, of course, for me was like shock, because 9 concertos I played almost my life. An 18 concerto I had to learn, and I did it. But it was also a tragedy, because Nikolaev died during this project. So we finished 11 concertos with my pupil and friend Konstantin Masluk. He's a pupil of Rozhdestvensky in conducting. And it was recorded in the 2010. No, it was finished, because all concerto was recorded live. You know, I told many times that Geza Anda, great pianist, wonderful recording of all concerto by Mozart, which I learned and I admire it. But he has his own orchestra. And every day when he recorded, he told, no, well, maybe today I am not in good health. Let's play tomorrow. I had no such possibility. I played 1 concert and 1 rehearsal. That's all. And it was maybe the most successful my achievement in my life. So I'm very proud. And I tried to tell it many times. And you know that I am very happy that when I came to the United States, the Philadelphia Chamber Orchestra invited me in the 2025 to play 2 concertos. I will play Jeune Homme and G minor. Yes. So it is wonderful. And you know that during such job, you are so happy because you live the life together with Mozart. Because every concerto you understand, he composed it during 1 week, sometimes shorter. And you understand this growing of genius. Because some composers have chef-d'oeuvre all his compositions. Some composers are growing from their childhood to Mozart grows wonderfully. If you compare his early compositions with Jupiter Symphony, for example, or it is great. It's great. For me, Mozart, it is one of the Everest, Gemalungma in music. So it was happy days of my life. Thank you very much for this question.
Lilya, you told me that you were living in Germany, but now you live in Vienna, and you've been there for 8 years teaching. And obviously, with your concert schedule, if you're taking students, you're doing that at quite a large cost to yourself of your time.
Yes.
My question is why did you make that decision, and how does teaching the next generation, how does that feed you?
I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy to stay in contact with young people. And sometimes I come home after lessons with more energy than I left home. Had less energy when I left home. So I think that it brings a lot also to my playing. I kind of sometimes understand better what I'm doing. So maybe not now, but years ago, when I was starting to do it. And I think that it's a process between... And anyway, every time I get new students, some people leave and some new people come in the class, and it's always new process, how to build it and how to contact people. So I feel sometimes I'm not only piano teacher, I'm also a psychologist, sometimes psychotherapist, sometimes like my colleagues, sometimes they tell that I have a teacher-mother heart. Yeah, and I find it as a compliment. Even maybe sometimes they think that maybe I'm too soft, or I don't know what they mean with that, but I take it as a compliment because I am a mother. I know my both sons were students, just finished, not long time ago, and I know what does it mean for parents and for students to do it, to teach, to study, to whatever. We all sacrifice when we practice. I always say this profession without holiday and without vacation, and you have to know that. So I show with my way of living that I am doing this. I don't know what is vacation. I am afraid about vacation. Even the last year I traveled a lot, really, with it was not so many concerts, but it were very long travels. And on 31st of December I came back from Taiwan, and on 2nd of January we planned to go to Budapest to have a holiday. On 2nd of January at 5 o'clock in the morning, I got fever, 39 degrees Celsius. Yeah, because my body didn't know what to do with the holiday, I think. It was kind of, my body was questioning. But still we went, and I stayed in bed there, and my husband took the thermal water. Doesn't matter. But I mean, I show to my students, and they know that I give all my time to them, and I'm always there. My husband is complaining, you are always there. But I say, I was away, so now I have to go and give the lessons and give my time back to the students. I'm very responsible. I was taught like this with my teachers. So,
did you teach your own sons how to play the piano?
Yes, I did.
And
in the beginning, not all the time. I did with my older son Daniel. I did it for 3 years. With Anton, with younger, I did it for 1.5 years. And then when they played a piano duo, which we did for 6 years, I was teaching this duo. So we did a lot of repertoire, and they won very important in Germany competition for young people. Jugendmusiziert, they won the German competition in age group between them, because they have 5.5 years difference. In 2009 they got first prize, and after that they played also by Marta Argerich Festival in Lugano, and they played here in San Antonio, and they played in Taiwan with orchestra, and so a lot in Germany and Italy also. So we did a lot of stuff, and they accepted completely. So I have to say that 2 sons, of course, 2 different personalities, totally different. Daniel was born in February and Anton in August, so totally different horoscope, which I kind of believe. Yeah, and so when Daniel was teenager, he told me, so I was not even his teacher, but of course he was practicing at home, and Of course, I heard and I intervened all the time. And he said, "Mama, go out and close the door on the other side." And okay, I left and I was kind of sad. And so after 10 minutes, I came back and I said, "I know you don't want to hear, but I tell you anyway what you can change." So with Anton was no problem, and with Duo it was absolutely no problem. We did a lot of things all together like colleagues, and now we still play together, not much, but we do it, and we play 6 hands pieces by one piano. Maybe you also didn't know it exists, but it is.
I heard the Rossini, Barber of Seville, they have an arrangement for 6 hands, one piano. It's very cute.
We play Rachmaninoff pieces. There are 2 pieces by early Rachmaninoff, Romance and Vals, and we play Czerny, very beautiful piece, Ronda Brillante. We did it last year in Mexico, and we do it as when we can.
Did it change your relationship with your sons to work with them? And does it change your relationship? Or no, let me ask this. Does it harm your relationship with your children?
No, nothing. No, nothing dangerous happened. No.
Nothing. It was fine.
No, nothing dangerous. I think we still have a big respect, and they have respect to me. Yeah.
Sergio, you have 2 children.
I do.
Are they musical?
They are musical, but I am not a very engaged father, musically speaking, because I I did have a mother who taught me how to play the piano, and a sister who was a pianist, and the house full of pianists. And I think I got a little bit claustrophobic.
Did your mother?
So my mother teaches my children.
And was your mother?
But I don't intervene.
Was your mother tough?
She was challenging in the sense that if she saw that there was potential, she would try to get the most out of that potential. Mm-hmm. But she was always very fair, I think, and not overpowering or overwhelming. However, as you know, and all of us know here, there's no other way. I mean, when you're a child, if you don't practice and you don't prepare, you will never get anywhere. And so, of course, I know very few children who want to practice, and I was one of them. And I learned how to practice much later in my life. I was already playing concerts everywhere, and only found the pleasure in practicing when I was really old. So it's part of the thing, but it happens with many professions where you have to start very young. I know that there's a wonderful book by Andre Agassi. I don't know if you've read it, where he talks about his own experiences with tennis and how he hated it because he had to, work so hard at it, and at the same time it's a love-hate relationship because of that. But of course, music wins somehow. The music is always the one that saves us. No.
If you could talk to your earlier self, Sergio, and say, "Don't do this," or something like that. If you could talk to yourself at any point in your childhood, what would you say?
What a good question.
And I will ask the same of Lilya and of Mikhail as well.
I think I wasted a lot of time in my life, a huge amount of time, but I'm happy I did somehow. So of course
you just played with the Berlin Philharmonic, so I think things are fine.
Well, but it's not a question of that, because the career is something that I still don't understand how it works. There's so many aspects that are due to luck, basically. I mean, I know extraordinary musicians who don't make great careers, and vice versa. And I think that's not important to me. I mean, it was never important to me. What was important was to see how I could develop and to become a better musician through being a better human being, basically. And that's the only thing that one has any power over, I think. However, I've always been a hedonist. I love life more than anything else. And I remember Misha Maisky used to say, if you're a musician, you have to love music more than life itself. And I completely disagree. For me, music is part of life, but it's not life. And I love life because of music as well.
Lilya, if you could talk to yourself when you were a girl, what would you tell yourself to? Something that you could say to yourself when you were younger. What would it be?
I don't know. I did so much, and we studied a lot, and so it's very difficult. Very difficult. I was a very good student, a very good pupil. I finished the school with gold medal, so I tried to do everything in order to be, and I practiced a lot, and so I don't know.
You have no regrets. That's good. That's a good way to live. Misha, if you could say something to yourself 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, that you would do differently, what would it be?
Different. Of course. You know that somebody told that profession of pianist, it is profession of the second part of your life, because your technique is good and your mind is growing. So I remember how did I play when I was 20 years old, when I was 25 years old. It was maybe improvisation. Not improvisation, of course I was taught by wonderful teachers. I knew Russian traditions and I educated very well. But when I make some composition, when I may make some interpretation, my interpretation, I did it intuitively. I like so. I tried. Sometimes I listened to me from outside, from the recording. I compare. Well, but with the years, I began to think more, to think about composer, about his life, about what did he tell in this composition. And especially in this case, I have known a lot from Beethoven's life, who was also a very tragic life. And when we play Moonlight Sonata, we don't understand how deep this music, because it is not connected with moon. Moonlight. Everybody knows that, but you must understand the tragedy of this man who was in love and who began to потерять слух.
Deaf. He was deaf.
To be deaf. And of course, the learning of Mozart concerto not so long ago. I did it 15 years ago. It was wonderful school, because Mozart, it is perfectness without anything more. Perfectness of angel. It is pure art, but so sensitive, so intimate, so fulfilled by feelings, by even suffering. We sometimes tell that Mozart is sunny composer. No, Mozart very tragic composer. And in his concerto, when he has only two in minor concerto, but in other major concerto, there are so many tragic places, so many minor, for example, S-dur opus 20, S-dur number 22nd, Fis-moll middle part in the 23rd concerto, even in the 9th concerto, Genome, the second movement is so tragic. And this is so deep music. And it is very difficult because it is very few notes. You know, every note has such weight of wisdom, of thinking. And this is a difficult job. You must not only learn and to play. One lady, I will not tell her name, she was asked to record Haydn sonatas. And she met me and told me, Misha, it's so easy. I put music and play for by list. She was a good professional and she played by list, nothing more. But in Haydn music, there are so many interesting thoughts which you may thinking. So I think that every day we are growing, we are learning. I still learn many things in my life now, in my age, and my pupils sometimes teaches me.
Yeah. No, I think it's kind of continuation of all the questions, how the life changes us, and so all about that. So we are all growing. Yeah, Sergio was speaking about that, and we're all speaking about that because we are developing in the life. And because I'm a woman, but you also have children, so it's connected to you all. But when my first son was born, then my husband said, now you play double better. Somehow. So it's what you ask about the life and how this changes. So students change and children change. It doesn't depend on us. It happens. I got a mother to be a mother, and it changed something inside of me which I cannot fix. Yeah, like for example, I also have this example when you learn the piece and you play it in the concerts, it's one thing. But when you record the piece and you hear recording and you walk in the recording and then you play it, it comes on a different level. Yeah, so it's like it also doesn't depend on me. It's a process of whatever, learning the piece, playing the piece, hearing myself, learning from myself. And so I also, the example I always have, when we study with a professor, yeah, I'm playing, professor is on the side. And then there is a time coming when you are alone and you have kind of to be divided, to be yourself playing and somebody else hearing from the side. I learned it through the years. Yeah, I found it myself. And then I was very happy in one musical calendar, which was once we got as a present, I found phrase of famous singer who was a friend of Rachmaninoff, Shaliapin. You know, of course, the name Boris Shaliapin. And I have it, I cut it from the calendar, I framed it, and I have it in my class. It's one phrase. When I'm on the stage, there are two Shaliapins. One is performing, one is observing. And this is what we learn during life. And it doesn't depend on us. We just learn it, and we growing, and it's all process of our life until we play and until we live.
Before we end this conversation, Mikhail, would you play something for us?
No, if you want.
Please.
It will be Waltz of Chopin.
Perfect.
In E minor.
That was Mikhail Voskresensky playing Chopin. My name is Scott Yu. I'm a jury member of the 2024 Gurwitz International Piano Competition. Thank you for listening.